You're listening to Techsuite for the C-suite, where we bridge the gap between technology and executives. Yo, welcome, Brock. Thank you
Hey,
for
hey.
coming on. For
Yeah,
for all the listeners, would you mind giving a brief introduction to your story and what you're working on?
yeah. So I'm Brock, CEO, founder here at the Indexing Company. Yeah, I don't know. I've been an engineer for over a decade in crypto since the ICO days. So I don't know, seen it all. Used to work at Coinbase. And yeah, now working on data infrastructure. So helping people, other businesses get the data they need off chain, faster and cheaper.
Wait, walk me through that. Like, what does it mean? Like, you get data to people?
Yeah. So in the blockchain space in particular, everybody's worried about creating data. So we're putting transactions on chain, we're doing swaps, we're buying meme coins, whatever it might be. Nobody thinks about how to use that after the fact. Like if you want to see your portfolio, how do you get that data back off chain? And so that's what we do. We help
So,
businesses get that.
what's the typical business there? Is it like financial marketplaces, kind of like your New York Stock Exchange, but on the blockchain? Or is it more like, okay, no, this is like your big company, and big
Yeah,
company just needs all the data indexed, and they only want to do their big company things? Or
yeah. We run the gambit because we're like the only constant right now is change. So we try to work with everybody. But there's definitely some primary vertical. There's a lot in the DeFi, so financial markets, that sort of world. There's a lot in the analytics, and that comes in various flavors from like security to marketplaces, people trying to do more
yep,
analytics type tracking. And then yeah, there's some that are building AI models, so they need historical data to
oh,
try to train it. Yep,
yep. So you also backfill since
exactly.
you've been around for ages. Like,
Yeah,
we, let's dive into that. Like,
yeah.
walk me through like for like one. Let's just walk me through the story of how you even got to the point to then get into crypto. Like, kind of your own backstory even before that.
Yeah, okay, okay. So I was born in Minnesota. No, I'm just kidding. I,
No,
uh,
no, like you're actually from Minnesota.
yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah. Thank you
yeah,
for hosting the Super Bowl. The Eagles won the
yeah.
first time.
So our only claim to fame now. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm a sad Vikings fan. Never works.
Oh,
But
it
yeah,
was a
no.
good year. Was a good year. Was a good year.
Every year is exactly that good. Like we make it to the playoffs and then no more. It's like can't win a game. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Someday,
Well,
someday.
well, against the Eagles, it was the NFC Championship game, so
Yep, yep.
had a good run there.
There you go. Um, But yeah, no, okay. So yeah, grew up in Minnesota, high school in Southern California, went to college up in Washington. I was going to do mechanical engineering. I was like, F that. I didn't want to go fetch people's coffee. It sounded really boring. Um, so the only way I could still get out of college in 4 years was to get a math degree. So I did that. I was just like, it was actually my worst subject, but I got a degree in it. Um, and yeah, during that, I was just bored in class. So I like started writing code on my laptop, just effing around. Ran the school's like social site for a while doing PHP nonsense.
So you
Yeah,
built
some,
Facebook before Facebook.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that seems to be generally your story in your life. Like you build it way too early.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. Uh, yeah, so I was doing that. And then somewhere along the way, I think in college, yeah, there was a job posting for like basically like contract software work. I was like, oh, that
Yep.
sounds interesting. I reached out to the guy, found out the job posting was a year old. So he's like, well, that's real old, but let's still meet for coffee. Um, Ended up working with him though for a year and a half through college, and then kind of went out on my own and just kept doing consulting. So I worked with a bunch of
Yep.
startups. Um, yeah, it was all over the place. It was like travel, real estate, law. I don't know, bouncing around.
That's software. Like, you were the consultant then just coming in doing coding, or you're
Yeah,
doing more on the business side, or like just in between?
definitely coding. For the most part, I mean, I was like 21, so nobody trusted me with anything. So it's like, oh, we need a dev to come in. I was like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't,
Here's this young shot.
yeah, exactly. And it was like, I don't know. The tasks were pretty menial, so I was like, I have all this extra time, so I just kept piling on new jobs. I was just like, well, let me just keep
Yeah,
adding them. Yep.
sounds
Um,
like a COVID worker.
yeah. So it's pre all that, for better or worse. But yeah, so same vein. I've never worked in an office. It's always been remote. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
that's something I want to get back to later because there's a lot of discussion about remote work, and
uh-huh,
I'm stirring the pot a little bit because I feel like our like crypto industry feels 100% remote, but then the job posting
hmm,
says SF, New
hmm,
York,
yep,
or
yep, yep,
if it says remote, it's remote USA, meaning you
hmm.
basically cut off the talent pool to everyone who is in
Yes,
SF, New York, or just happens to be in Austin. Uh,
yep, yep.
Broad European looking at it,
Yes, yes,
but um,
yeah,
no, so that's interesting. There you did consulting, you
yep,
programmed, you really seem to like it.
yep, yep, yep,
You're never in an office because I suppose they just brought you on for the gig and you just did the gig, and it
yep,
just worked,
exactly.
and they never questioned it because you were good. Uh,
Well, I was always a contractor, so never I didn't have W-2 like employee status through any of this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like never quite sure if I was gonna have a paycheck, and that's why I also just kept piling them on to try to smooth it out.
Uh, yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Um.
Running a development boutique, I can tell you that
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know. Yeah. Like I still have my own LLC that I did it under, and so like I still have it, but I don't really do anything there anymore.
yeah,
It's
well, it's
yeah.
always good. You can write stuff off in there.
Exactly. Wrote off the vehicle that I travel around in. I wrote the whole thing
Yep,
off. But yeah.
yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Literally mobile office. Like, oh, I have
Yes.
to pay rent for this also.
Starlink. Yeah. Right off. Yeah.
No, it's true. There's I had
Oh.
this with one company I was working with, where literally like they just had me sign up to an online portal
Hmm.
that they manage payroll in, and that
Yeah.
online portal asked me like, oh, sign up as contractor or employee, and I'm like, wait, this is cool. I can run this through the
Yeah.
company. So
Yes.
like I don't have to ask if I have to can run this through the company. I just
Uh-huh.
can. And so it's
Yeah.
cool. And and then through that coding, you somehow went to the dark side.
Yeah. So this is like I think late 2016. I was bored, just like piling on jobs, and I found I think it was called ETHLance. So it was a job board where you get paid in Ethereum.
Oh wait, in
Yeah.
2016, so Ethereum has
Yeah.
been around like for 1 year, and they have a job
Yeah. It was
board
early.
pay
Yeah.
you in ETH. That's like
Yes.
saying, oh, when the guy bought pizza with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just bought pizza and he just was like, oh, this is magic internet money.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I found he later became my co-founder, but found a guy doing real like wanting to do real estate on chain. He was doing an ICO. Um, he had a technical co-founder already. They did the ICO. CTO left. I ended up stepping in and like running engineering with them for 3 years and getting paid in Ethereum the whole time. It was great.
Right, so walk me through getting paid in Ethereum because I feel like that it's super interesting. It's like
Yeah.
2016, you get paid in Ethereum. Ethereum is 1 year old. You kind of saw the Bitcoin story of, oh, Bitcoin went up to a few thousand around that
Mm-hmm.
time. So it's like, well, it's still this new thing when people start talking about it, and now you get paid in this other coin that's not
Yep.
Bitcoin, and you get paid through it for 3.5 years. That's your main income. So you sell it, you invest it. What's
Yeah.
the mental there with the price changes?
Well, yeah, man. So many regrets, but I was young and dumb, so I was just selling all of it to go travel. I was like, I just want to go travel. So I didn't keep any. So I was getting like 14 ETH every 2 weeks because the price was so low. But I would just sell it to pay rent, to go travel, to do whatever. And yeah, it was like Coinbase account
Yeah.
at the time, deposit it in, withdraw it to my bank account, and I was just like the flow over and over.
For everyone uninitiated, 14 ETH today, you can 3x the number as of
Yeah,
early 2025 when we're recording this. So,
yeah,
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 that would have
yeah.
been a good paycheck every 2 weeks. You're making NFL player money in today's money.
Yes, yes. If I had just done nothing, yeah,
But
yeah.
but then it's also you have expenses, you sell it. It's and then if you look at statistics, it's like, well, you're technically best off by selling every single airdrop, but then there's this one outlier which
Mm-hmm.
can just screw the whole statistic
Yep,
because now
yep,
you are part of that outlier,
yep,
whereas everyone else isn't. So you're
yep.
still, yeah. typical
Yep.
crypto, like, oh, we'll just pay you 1% of token allocation. It's
Uh,
the startup's way of saying we're going to pay you in options,
yep. Yep.
and you're just not getting a base salary, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. So, but that's real estate in 2017. You started that,
Yes.
and 16, 18. So,
Yeah. We were
wait,
doing.
like BlackRock is coming in today, like 2025. So you're
Yeah.
almost 10 years early to that.
We were way too early. So we were doing. Basic premise was that real estate would eventually end up on chain, and so that somebody has an opportunity to make a lot of money being the facilitator for buying a house on chain. That was the basic premise. We knew we weren't there
Yep.
yet, regulation wasn't there, but that's where we wanted to get to. So we were doing a bunch of stuff in between. So we were doing like Toll Brothers, a big housing developer. We were getting all of their new listings. So anytime they sold a house, we were getting it, putting it in an IPFS, and then putting it on chain. So
Yep.
there's still a permanent record of all the Toll Brothers listings on chain somewhere.
Yep. So the technicals for everyone is like, well, this just means you get all of the listings and all of their like
Yep.
records of real estate movement. You put them on some decentralized file storage that you know should be around for a while,
Yep. Yep.
and that's the premise. So that you're ready for when everything moves on chain. You just have that
Hmm.
history, and you can act as if it always has been.
Well, and we were building on top of that further, where we were letting real estate agents come in and curate their own localized feeds. So saying like, here's a feed
Mm.
of all the like best real estate in my area, and it was all happening on chain.
And because the data is all public on the
Hmm.
ledger, you're able to just like actually get that and curate that
Yes.
feed, which is
Hmm.
already a spoiler to what you're doing
Yeah. Yeah.
nowadays, with the
Yes.
data provision. But
Yep.
real estate there back then, you said the regulation wasn't there. Is it? Do you? If you walk through like why it could have worked, is probably like obvious. Like it's, oh, this public
Sure.
ledger, everyone just can work
Yep.
together. The hurdles I think of is, well, I don't want everyone to know my sales,
Yep.
and the other one would be like, oh, is it already legal? Like, do I actually
Hmm.
own this? Like, I still need
Hmm.
this paperwork.
Yep.
How do you see that going?
Yeah. I think we'll get there, especially as identities become more digitized, and it'll just kind of be a more natural process. You can obscure it. Maybe there's a private blockchain involved. This is sort of where we ended up with it, where we were partnering with, Signature Bank at the time. They had, this was like 2018, 2019. They had a way to go from like a fiat payment into their own
Yeah.
private blockchain.
Oh,
So we were
and
facilitating that.
so it wasn't even a public ledger. So
It
it
was, we
was their
would put the
private
like,
chain.
yeah, we would do the listing data. So like, here's the house that's on the
Yep.
public ledger, and the
Okay.
transaction would happen on the private ledger.
So then you could tell every realtor like, oh no, like your transaction is private, but just all of the listings are public, so you can see all of the
Yes.
listings. Like today on Zillow, like every single
Yeah.
listing,
Exactly.
mostly if it's not fully off market
Uh
and they
huh.
already know the contact, it just hits Zillow. So Zillow is
Yes.
your public
Mm-hmm.
ledger. That's just not public and can go away
Yes.
tomorrow and can lock you
Yes.
out tomorrow, can change the terms on you tomorrow, can literally change the legal structure of how it works
Yes.
on you tomorrow because they're a private company. That's a
Yep.
benefit of a public ledger, I personally feel like. Um, but that's 5, 6 years later. We now have people like BlackRock
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, we will actually tokenize every single asset we have, and they
Yep.
have a bunch of them because they're the biggest single holder
Trillions
of
of
assets.
dollars. Yeah.
And I think they will start with stocks
Mm-hmm.
and certificates because I do think that they then can just literally tap into the like whole DeFi system and get
Yep.
additional liquidity on their holdings. How I see that working is, well, the real estate we just explored, you don't like you literally do not know, do I actually own this? Well, with the
Well.
stock, it's like, no, it's attributed to this address, it's fine. There's no legal backing besides like company equity,
Yeah.
which you can probably, it's all digital. Like company equity
Yeah.
isn't physical in the
Yeah.
literal
Yeah. Yeah.
sense. I feel like,
Well, so but even with real estate, it's like now fast forward another year, title companies, like the actual title for the house is the registration or the ownership. That could be digitized.
yep.
So then we were
So,
trying to work with escrow companies where, like, if you're buying a house, you put funds into an escrow account and they sit there for 30 days. So, like,
yep.
what if you could earn yield on that
Oh,
on
okay.
those funds?
So now you're going to them and you're saying, we're, instead of just having that set in the escrow, where
Mm-hmm.
that bank isn't paying you, do you want to use this other system that's earning
Yep.
you yield? So you're not selling them on like, oh, not using a bank. You're selling them on earning while the
Yep.
money sits in escrow anyway.
Exactly.
Like, what are the sales pitches here? Like, how did it also change over the years?
Yeah. Admittedly, this was like towards the end of our runway, so we didn't really get to see it all the way through. But
Yeah,
the pitch seemed obvious. It was just like make money on your funds while they're
yeah.
sitting there doing nothing, right? But this was what 2018, 2019, 2020 maybe. Yeah, trying to get a somebody who works at a title company or a real estate agent to install MetaMask and learn how to do all this was just kind of a non-starter.
Oh, so like the complexity for them was like, no, I can trust this bank. I can just sign up. I have legal
Mm-hmm.
documents, and I'm good.
Yes, but we
Okay.
couldn't like get them to learn about a wallet and sign a transaction and do the thing. Yep,
So you're saying they were interested in making more money.
yep.
That sales pitch may have actually played out, but the friction and they
Mm-hmm.
then lost in trust over that friction. Because, by the
Yep.
way, like banks have a lot of friction, but they're used to that friction. Like
It's
it's
known
it's
friction. Exactly. Yes.
and
Yep.
that combination of friction and unknown was the non-starter. Do you think this has improved in 2025?
I think so. It's like this was back before account abstraction was a thing. We were like before
But
NFTs were a thing. So there's there's a lot more primitives now, and you have companies that are really abstracting away all that complexity from users.
walk me through that. So, like, if you were to rebuild that today, what would the end user flow look like? The tech you kind of touched on this, like account abstraction, where
Yep.
we literally take that wallet and we just abstract it away from you on a technical
Hmm.
sense, which we don't need to get into. But like, what's the end user flow for the realtor, for example, or that escrow company?
It should feel almost identical. So like even on and off ramp companies are more robust now. So they could be coming in and saying, here's instead of depositing into my traditional bank account, here's just the new ACH payment. So they have new
Okay,
details, a new bank account to send the funds to, and when they land, everything happens without them having to interact with it. It's all automated.
so it's like you now build the system where they still do ACH because
Yep,
that's what they know. You need to get them
yep.
from their bank onto
Meet them
this
where
like
they're at. Yep,
blockchain system, which is the on and off ramps.
yep,
And now you have it on chain, and then their management interface still is just a web app because
yep,
you either control it fully or you use one of those account abstraction providers that then are like, oh, here's my email address. With
yep,
the email address, they make sure that that user gets a wallet
yep.
under the hood that they never see. They just see email, and then you
Hmm.
go and do the transactions. And you, as the company, never actually own them because it's
Right.
always in control of the user, assuming that that provider for the account abstraction is honest.
Yes.
Um, which,
Yep,
which is currently the trade-off we're making, right? We're saying that if that provider is honest, which is in their financial best interest,
yep.
because if they weren't, nobody would use them anymore.
Hmm.
Um, then we're safe, and then this is super easy flow. The goal to get to, for me personally, I think, is have the ability to have it that easy for everyone to still fully own their thing. The issue there, to me personally, is the recovery and
Yep.
distribution. It's like in cryptography over the last 20, 25 years for like public private key infrastructure, the reason
Hmm.
that hasn't spread beyond business use cases is because you have the problem of I need to know your publicly key
Yes.
first to just encrypt and communicate encrypted with you. And even like in university in like cybersecurity classes, what we do is we just assume that you get the private key somehow, because
Hmm.
the question is, like sorry, the public key, because the question always is, how do you do safe key
Yep.
transfers? Because how do I know it's you
Hmm.
without ever having interacted with you first? and you just
Yep.
assume that there's some way that I know. And currently on the internet, we do it by literally hard coding some
Yeah.
agencies. We call them certificate authorities. It's like saying the government, like, oh, there's
Mm-hmm.
two people or like 10, take however you want, in government that are hard coded. Until they die, they will be in there. And even after they die, they will be in there. We may just
Mm-hmm.
replace them over time, but we can't really. And as long as they say that somebody is now the active president, we just believe it. And then the president has the authority of a president under the system, but you need those 10 people to testify.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that problem, to walk it back up, is why you will never, at least at this current iteration we have a system where you can fully own everything and it's fully non friction. So you'll always have one intermediary, and the
Yep.
question just becomes, okay, you have way more agency if you own your own wallet than if it's a bank account, because you could
Yep.
export and go
Yep.
into
Yep.
that other system.
Yep.
And then there's ways where that company will tell you, oh no, we built it in a way that we never learn the thing that you would
Mm-hmm.
export. So we always shard it out and we put the shards back together, and because of cryptography,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
it's that way. And it's so fully like there's just trust involved,
Yes.
right?
There's always trust. You're trusting someone or something. Yeah.
And but I believe like for you, you then went, okay, this shut down. You saw the data side. People need data. You're
Yep.
probably like building all of that initially, anyways. You
Yep.
were like most interested in that, so you just go on and do data.
Basically, yeah. I genuinely never really cared about the whole cryptocurrency side of it. I was like, I get that that's the vehicle for innovation, but I care about the data, the peer-to-peer
Okay, yeah,
network.
that's why you sold $30,000 of today worth of
Yeah.
ETH
Yeah.
every single like every two
Exactly.
weeks, which
Yes. Yes.
which at the time was a normal paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Paper hands.
Yeah. No, so after that, I went to Coinbase. So I worked on some of their internal tooling,
Oh,
building data infra there.
yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Who's like the most interesting? Like that was probably still early in the Coinbase era, right?
I
Kind of.
joined right before they went public.
Nice. Get that bag.
Yep.
You got
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
You got
Yeah.
one coin.
Exactly.
No, that's
Yeah.
really really cool. That's
Yeah.
is there like one or two most interesting people and stories from that era?
Oh man. There's a lot of interesting stuff. Like I recognize a lot of the people on Farcaster now from those days even. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, like, that's one of the gripes people have about Farcaster,
Yeah,
because
I know.
like Farcaster is this like programmable social network trying to
Hmm.
be this new thing that we all really like, because we're in this like open, we want to do stuff
Yep.
with it. We want to do the cool public ledger stuff we talked about a little bit earlier, and we now
Yep.
have the social data to do it. And it's founded by two former Coinbase employees, and they onboarded most of the network initially. So obviously
Yep.
that then
Yep.
is Coinbase coded, and then Coinbase decided, oh shit, we if we only do financials, we can't get way much bigger. We can only go
Yep.
as big as the full financial system. Why don't we just take over the world and also have social? So they're like,
Yep.
oh, if we do social and crypto, that means we do Farcaster. And that's why like the Coinbase as a
Hmm.
company with their own chain base is so active on Farcaster. And that's
Yep.
just for
Yep.
the uninitiated. That's where that comes from. So you know all of
Yep.
them from that
I
era.
wouldn't say I know all of them, but I
Yeah,
recognize names. Yeah.
yeah.
I doubt they know me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You saw the internal emails.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like, what was it? So I was doing internal tools, and without getting too technical, one of the things we were trying to solve was authentication and authorization within the company. And so before I left, this was like early 22.
Yep.
Um, Long before Base Chain launched, we were talking about building that as an internal tool. It's like an internal blockchain for
Oh, yep.
managing all the security permissions.
Oh, that's actually like one concept that's floating around every now and then is
Hmm.
who's going to build the key or like permissions chain.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, I actually personally think that just build it on any chain. Like you just
Yeah.
write a smart contract that
Hmm.
manages permissions, and you're good to go.
Yep.
Um, because it's one of the pitches, like I think episode 2 or 3 of this pod is me talking to Flynn from Amazon. He works
Hmm.
at AWS,
Yep. Yep.
and he said like, oh, they have most of their like, I think now it's different, but they initially had all of it on US East 1. Like all
Sure.
of the
Yep.
account and authentication
Yep.
system ran there because they were like, okay, there's one data center, this is our source of truth, we don't
Yep.
have problems with our account system.
Yep.
While if you were to build it on a blockchain, it's like, well, you don't really
Mm-hmm.
have too many access changes, so the traffic should be fine. You can
Yep.
scale it
Yep.
with current
Yep.
blockchain technology, and you can actually go global. So, like, if US East 1 is down, you can still change your account settings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so that's where you were going.
Yeah.
What's like the most fun or weird story, the most unorthodox story from the Coinbase days?
Oh man. I mean, the ones that are coming to mind, I don't think I'm allowed to share. Um, there's there's some fun stuff there. No, what was it? Like
We're
the
not going over any NDAs here.
yeah, no. Some of the craziest stuff, I guess. Like part of my job was actually modifying the code that Brian Armstrong wrote like 12 years prior, because that's still like the internal admin interface for everything. So everybody
Oh, damn.
else was trying to build around it, and so then us sitting as the internal tools team had to facilitate that. Basically, everybody else building their own backends, their own front ends. There's still this thing Brian Armstrong wrote. How does it all connect? Yeah. Yeah.
That's like plugged into the matrix,
Yeah. There's a
like
lot of
literally the root of it.
it's so crazy. There's so much like lore and code in there that just like never gets talked about. Nobody even gets to read all of it because there's just too much. Yeah.
No, like how many employees does Coinbase total have right now? Probably like 5 to 10,000 people, if I were to
Probably
guess.
before I left, we were almost to 5,000.
Like let's quickly like, shouldn't the one quick Google search give me that? It actually doesn't. Oh, like, oh yeah. Okay, 3,700, around that number
Yeah.
currently, according to their current investor relations.
Yep. Yep.
Yep,
Yep.
page as of the end of last year, end of 2024.
Okay.
Said
That makes sense.
4x.
Yeah.
So yeah, that basically also means there's so much code that like
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
probably a lot of law and legal and like sales because it's also a B2B platform for finance and all of it. But I would guess it's probably like 2,000 engineers at least.
Easily. There was a large number of engineers. Like it was big enough that one of the other things I worked on there was their boot camp initiative. So they have like I think it was 2 or 3 week boot camp for every engineer that comes on
Yep,
to just learn about blockchain, learn about Coinbase, like do sample projects, the whole thing. So it's a big
yep,
enough scale that they're doing that.
yep, yeah.
Yep.
And then you're writing the one code that has never been changed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means if you probably call somebody now 3 years later, they'd be like, "Oh yeah. I can still see Brock in the Git blame of like who wrote this
Yes,
function that doesn't work
absolutely.
anymore, or it's so wonderful that we don't need to change it and commented it so nicely that we're just instantly able to get it right."
No, like one of my favorite things, I won't say where it's at or what it does, but there's a piece of code that I wrote my first month, and I'm like, this is a bad idea. I'm going to name it temporary. So it's like a temporary thing. 4 years later, it's still there. Yeah. Yeah.
This sounds so Coinbase though. Like
Yeah.
I've never interacted with. I've used Coinbase. It was the
Yeah.
exchange I just used, but
Yep.
I've never interacted with Coinbase outside of, or like people at Coinbase outside of like getting to know them through Farcaster, which means it's mostly the
Yep.
founders that left
Yep.
Coinbase and then found their thing, kind of like
Yep.
you, which we'll get to. And it always is this mentality of, oh, it just works. Like that's just,
Yeah.
oh, it works. Cool. If
Yeah.
it,
There's bigger fish
whether
to
or not
fry.
it scales or not,
Yep.
just check
Yep.
check it off the
Yep.
box, and literally only like erase it so much as it's like needed.
Yeah.
Um, in Germany, where I grew up, it's totally the opposite mentality, where
Okay.
we're like, if we're going to build a house, we're going to work so long on the planning and like all of it and making sure it's proper
Yep.
that once we go build it, we literally know exactly what we're building, and we
Yes.
just quickly spin it up because we already know.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the other mentality is no, we just start building. So it's going to
Yeah.
seem like we're building a really big house. It's really
Hmm.
cool, and we just keep building, and somehow at the end we'll end up with a house. And then maybe some quirks in there because some of the
Yeah.
pipes didn't line up. We
There'll
didn't
be some
plan
doors that
that.
don't go anywhere. It's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this door
Yeah.
is a little to the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
It works. That is some of their like startup mentality. I also feel in and around
Hmm.
the like podcaster ecosystem. And one interesting quote there from Dan Romero, who at the like was also big in like scaling Coinbase
Hmm.
on the business side and the operations side. He said, "Well, we don't care about the like 100% polish because
Hmm.
if people do not jump through the unfinished unpolished version, it doesn't have enough value to be built out to the full
Yep.
polished version." I generally in in the general case agree with that. I also do think some flows or some things need to be at least 90-95% polished because it doesn't make sense to have them at 80. Would be really curious since you're like mostly working on actual like hardcore infra uh, and dealing with
Yeah.
terabytes of data, if not more. What your take on that is?
Um, yeah. So just kind of get into the ethos of, I don't know, just how I try to build things. I assume no matter how much planning I do, something's going to break. So I try to build resilient systems first. It's kind of the
Yeah,
thing I'm going for. And then from that baseline, you can start to experiment. So I'm like big on the 80-20 concept, like 20% of the effort to get 80% of the way. Like,
yeah.
see if it works, see if there's traction. And if there is, you flip it around and you put 80% of the effort to make that last 20% really great.
So you're like, okay, I will still spend enough time in the planning to make it resilient.
Yes. Just like get the foundations right.
Okay, so you're like, okay, say it's a construction project scheduled
Yep.
for 2 years. You'll take the first months with the Germans
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get to kind of like get their ideas, and then second
Yep.
month you're like, okay, no, I'll kick out the Germans. I already know their foundation they want to build. I'll just
Yep.
quickly spin it up
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Go to the Germans for the framing and the foundation, and then go to somebody else for all the bells and whistles. Yeah,
Because you already know that the basement is going to be
exactly.
sturdy. So even if
Yes,
you have to tear down what is above, you can reuse the basement.
exactly.
That's a really interesting way of like framing it. It
Yeah.
is. I don't know how many people are going to get the German reference here, but it speaks
Uh,
so well to me because that's like I just get shed on by all of your Yankees and
yeah,
Americans,
yeah.
and like especially in the startup world, it's sometimes
I
like,
know.
oh, you just ship it, and I'm like, and there's
Yeah.
like,
No, there's everything in moderation. There's got to be some balance there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
there's one really cool thing in and around the Farcaster ecosystem. Alex Mesme, he's mostly building social apps and
Yep.
social experiences, mostly in and around creators,
Yeah.
and he hired a German engineering team.
Yep.
So he's NSF has just
Mm-hmm.
full on German engineers working on their on stuff, and I had this discussion with him where he's like, I will just pay for the managed stupidly expensive solution for some of the stuff we need to do because
Yep.
if it saves 1 day every single month of my engineers, that's
Mm-hmm.
already worth the money. Even though if you just look at it from a purity sense and they could build it in 2 days and then the rest of it
Mm-hmm.
is free, that maintenance and that mental overhead, no, just outsource it.
Mm-hmm.
While the German would think, oh, if I can just spend 2 days on it, it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I asked him, like, well, okay, if it actually works and it's like proven out, like for
Yep.
example, Linux, for example, they're not using like Linux in that sense, but it's like
Yeah.
Linux as like an operating system and as a base would be so sturdy. He's like, I do not care because I have venture funding to win or die. That's the mentality. That's what I'm running after. So if
Yep.
you want to just go and do this like engineering stuff, this doesn't work in the win or die model that he's
Mm-hmm.
playing. So I feel like that also that moderation and how you have to do that moderation also is one arena and like recognizing the arena you're playing in.
Yep.
Because we then continued, Alex and I, to argue for the next 30 minutes about the mentality difference, though we both knew we're on the same side that he's doing the right thing for him as a venture funded business, and I'm
Yep.
doing the
Yep.
right thing for me as a bootstrap business.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
like
Yes.
those conversations were great because we both knew where the other was coming from, and we were arguing
Yep.
about the thing,
Yes. Yes.
knowing that each of us are doing it differently, and both of us are right.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
In like their respective
Yeah. Yeah.
side of yeah. So then
Yeah.
you at one point you decided to leave Coinbase.
Yeah. I told my boss I was leaving. This was like May of 22. He was like, all right, stick around till August. I was like, okay. And then we all got laid off in June anyways. I was like, all right, I guess that worked.
Oh, so you still got the big severance package from the layoff
Yep.
then?
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
it's yeah.
Yep. So it ended up working out decently well. It gave me a few months to like get started with all this.
Nice. So get started means now you're at indexing.
Yeah. So this was, yeah, summer of 2022. I just like moved into a house, left the only stable job I'd ever had. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing now. Yeah. Um, I knew I wanted to start something. I just didn't know what. So I'd been, yeah, I don't know. Just the backstory on Indexing Co. in like 2021, the NFT craze was happening. You know, like I had some friends doing NFTs and trading those, and the only option was OpenSea, like that marketplace to go find them. And I was like, OpenSea kind of sucks, and a big part of it is their data's so slow. I'm gonna go index everything myself. So I was like for 2 years I was doing my own indexing on a laptop just to like try to front run NFT sales. It wasn't terribly successful, but like made a few decent trades there.
And Coinbase was building out their own NFT marketplace.
Yes,
So like
yes.
you're doing that while working on the internal tools for the company internal admin platform, while others in the company try to build the thing you're running off of your laptop. While the biggest player in the whole market, making hundreds of millions of dollars, literally has shitty infra according to what you're able to
Yeah.
replicate on your just laptop.
Yes, yes. Yeah. One man's opinion at least. Yeah, yeah. That's it worked well enough that I was able to, yeah, like snipe a few mints. So I was like following that craze. Yeah. So then this was like spring 2022. I didn't know what I was gonna do, but I knew I wanted to leave Coinbase, do my own thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to be like Google for Web3. And then I realized everybody's Google for Web3, or at least claiming to be. I was like, such a common term. Um, I don't know. So like as I kept ideating, I realized anytime, no matter what I wanted to build, if it was a search engine, NFT marketplace, block explorer, whatever it might be, every single thing was going to have to start with this data infrastructure. Like, all right, there's something there. This is weird. Why is it not solved? Um, and kind of the one of the unlocks for me at least was the idea that the different from everything else in Web 2. In Web 3, the data is known and it's free. So if you integrate with it once, you can build anything. Versus in Web 2, you have to keep integrating with every API, every other provider, every new data set. Uh, but this is all public. So like, all right, there's a there. So that was the impetus for indexing. I was like, I think we can do this. We can do this once and for all.
So now that you have the origin story, what's like the pitch today? Like
Yeah.
if you're like, okay, I saw all of this open data. I know that
Yep.
if we just give everyone access to that data
Yep.
somehow, they can build whatever they want on top, and we'll be
Yes.
this like layer in the middle. So if you now go and you're like elevator pitching,
Yep.
indexing, like how do you go?
Yeah. So if you're building anything in Web3, you need Web3 data. Guarantee you have at least one data engineer and probably a fat AWS bill to make all that happen. None of it makes your business unique. So the pitch here is Indexing Co. can save you 70% on your data infrastructure, and you can get back to doing what makes your business actually unique.
And so to contrast that with what other companies are doing nowadays with one the AWS to
Yep.
the AI is
Yep.
because I don't want to hire an AI engineer for $500,000 every single year sitting in SF
Yep.
and
Yep.
just literally calling open AI APIs
Yeah.
anyways. I just
Yep.
call the open AI APIs
Yep.
anyways and know that I'm maybe if I build it in the German Foundation way, flexible enough to change the models. If I build
Yes,
it
yes.
in the like super scrappy way, I'm
Yeah,
super tied into
yeah.
OpenAI, and then I have to just rewrite it once.
Hmm.
Uh, sorry, I'll keep hammering on that. Uh, but so you're in this like layer now where you can compare it to say the AWS, which has their Bedrock, and then you just
Hmm.
call the AI model. OpenAI has their AI model. Because you all need this AI infrastructure. And if you're building anything in and around this open data, you just need the data. So you're
Yes,
give me that data layer.
exactly.
Cool. So
Yeah.
now that you're doing that, if you then is there like any company that's not in Web3 coming to you and being like, what can we do with this data?
We Not yet, not really. We're also not a very big name by any means, so we haven't like gone outside yet. There's been some like crypto curious companies, but it's mostly they like a hedge fund that might want to get the data to see if they want to make a trade.
Well, okay. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're usually going out and pitching blockchain.
No, thankfully, yeah, thankfully, like the pool's
Okay.
big enough. We're just focused on Web3
Yeah.
companies. Yep,
So you
yep,
did that in 2016, anyways, eh?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Been down that road. Yeah.
Yeah. If if you got into an elevator today and somebody found out you're working in blockchain,
Yep.
what is your elevator pitch on what is a blockchain?
Man, this happens daily. So typically, I try to immediately feel out if they're even remotely technical. If not, I just jump to the surface level version, where if I send you money, that's now publicly available. It's out there. If you want to see your balance, like how much money you have, though, that in between doesn't exist, and so that's what I'm building.
So that means okay, but that means I already have to understand what a blockchain is to understand that it's out there. Uh,
So, well,
so what's the elevator pitch? What's your elevator pitch for the blockchain itself?
for me at least, I just abstract it away. You gloss over it. So it's like, hey, now when I send you money, that's public data. That's all it is. Yeah. Because at the
So
end of
so
the,
so for you, blockchain is a public bracket
so
book.
exactly. Yeah. And there's like ancillary benefits like security and compliance and what agency, all the things. But if you're in an elevator and they're not already using blockchain, they don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do they care about the open data?
Uh, they usually don't. So that's just kind of like the entry point. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
the difference here is the data's open, and if they want to do deeper, then you can get into why that matters.
Okay. So why
Yeah.
does it matter?
So it's for all those reasons. It's I mean, obviously the big use cases for blockchain right now are financial, where you can do cross-border payments. I can interact with you permissionlessly. I don't have to go ask my bank if I can. Um, Gives you control over your own assets is really the big piece
Yeah.
there. Yep.
One of those coolest things is if I actually now want to earn money on my like funds that just sit in the business account, my bank has to offer me a product to do that. If
Yes.
that money sits on a blockchain, I can pick a product to
Mm-hmm.
earn money while it's still my money. So I can
Yep.
take my bank account to any investment bank and just pick the one that gives me the best yield for
Yes.
the risk that
Yes.
I'm taking on. While currently in the traditional system, that means I literally have to sign new papers, get a new bank account, move
Mm-hmm.
money in between bank accounts.
Yep.
Um, that's one thing there. If so, that's one financial use case I think. Is there, what other use cases do you enjoy?
uh, so I'm big, obviously, on the data side. I like that. I like this idea that we're putting data out there in a public way and making it reusable. Um, so, for instance, I still like that real estate idea. Like these are data sets that are meant to be publicly searchable, but there are gatekeepers in the middle. Similar with social. Like what part of why I'm on Farcaster is that data set is open. So even if we're all using Warpcast as the interface, the
Yep.
underlying data is still accessible outside of it.
Okay, and so because the data is accessible, like you can just do stuff with the data.
Basically, it just unlocks innovation. Is kind of where I come from. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
it kind of like if you break the silos and you let people do things, people will do cool things.
exactly, exactly.
It's like, well, in 2015, AI was fully closed, so you can't
Hmm.
really do cool shit. But since OpenAI opened up the API initially, you
Yep.
kind of have this breakthrough now of AI applications because, well, you can now do shit.
Exactly. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way of looking at why open data matters. Is usually it's some ideology driven, like, oh, you just need it to be open,
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
gatekeepers. I always like the removing trust part
Yep.
of
Yep.
secure programs run on a blockchain. It's like this
Sure. Yep.
internet
Yep.
computer
Yep.
vibe. I always like. But then you have to explain like why does it matter? And I'm like, well, there's some high security, high stakes stuff,
Yep.
or
Yep.
literally there's two actors that do not have any interest in working together, but they can through that technology.
Yes.
But it's really hard to find those cases where they can't draw a legal contract for it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Usually that's what ends up happening there. And with the open data, it's like now your indie hacker is enabled, so it's
Yes.
enabling.
Yes. It's lowering the barriers to innovation just in general. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Uh, when you're now going into okay, this is all of the benefits. What's the downsides?
um, sort of the normal downsides that come with rapid innovation, I suppose, and kind of what we're talking about with even like the Silicon Valley mindset, where you end up with these houses that have doors that go nowhere. So there's just a lot out there that no longer needs to be out there, and there's no cleanup mechanism, right? So trying to sift through
Okay,
what matters, what's useful, that becomes really difficult.
I have one really big question there.
Yeah.
Do you think that the huge amounts of funding that every single door gets also means it just stays out there longer compared to any other industry?
uh, I want to say no, possibly the opposite.
What's the opposite? Walk me through that.
Um, I feel like a lot of VC-backed companies, by nature being VC-backed, are swinging for the fences.
Yep.
So they're going to take a big swing, but if they miss, they're out quick.
Oh, so like just because they launch a token and they have like 150 million funding, they're still out quick.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Okay.
ways to spend money. Yeah.
No, but I'm just asking because I feel like there's a few chains and companies that because they were able to in their like oh shit this may work
Yes.
time launch a token are literal like in the public markets you would call those zombie companies like
Yep.
companies
Yep.
that
Yep.
are
Yep.
still around still somehow are able to operate but you all know that they're either already somewhat should be bankrupt or literally do
Mm-hmm.
not have a reason
Mm-hmm.
to exist. Um,
I'll refrain from naming names. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. There's I'm
Yeah.
sitting in Zurich. There's a few here,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they still fund all of the events in and around the ecosystem, and they have the
Uh-huh.
logo everywhere.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's really cool for the ecosystem. But just everyone has the same public opinion of them, which is interesting. Um,
Yes.
but then there's these cool parts in those zombies where they're like those ideas are really cool. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason
Yes.
somebody started it.
Yes.
Kind of like when you did real
Yep.
estate so early, it's like there's a reason you started this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for whatever reason it didn't work at the time.
Right.
So I feel like a lot of those zombies could be either morphed together or restarted fresh
Yep.
with different tech. I'm not sure if like you actually need just regulation to be solved for the real estate part. Um, but yeah, there's a bunch. Also, like you see this in consumer tech, where like
Yeah.
like crypto goes in 1 or 2 year cycles at most. Some
Yep.
people say 4 years. No, no, no.
Yes.
Like the idea maze goes into 1 or 2
Yes.
cycles. How
Yep.
high and big it goes is every 4 years. But
Yep.
like the 1 or 2 years is like
Mm-hmm.
same idea. It's like, okay, I saw
Yep.
this last year. I saw this last year. I saw
Yep.
this
Yep.
2 years
Yep.
ago. Okay, cool. Why does it work again? Because there's new people coming in, and the old people
Yep.
just already know. Okay, this is how it works. This is how we get in. This
Mm-hmm.
is how we get out.
Yep.
Um, but then there's always this underlying push that you were talking about with the data. It's becoming more accessible. We're now able
Yes.
to actually build this experience that would have gotten the realtors
Yeah.
in 2016 excited because it would be the same as what they've known
Yep.
before, with the additional benefit of probably easily being able to track all of that, earning money on the
Mm-hmm.
escrow, and getting all of those benefits.
Yeah.
Um, Saying that, what are you most excited about in this space?
Um, I honestly, I'm most excited about people focusing on the user experience, like actually thinking about a user here. I think that's what's been missing. It's a bunch of us
Yep.
builders building for each other instead of actually thinking about who else is out there in the world.
Okay, so you just said your company is focused purely on data
Yes.
inventory.
I, yes. What is it? My elevator pitch is we're boring so that you don't have to be. Like,
Yep, no,
yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
We talked about this yesterday, where a friend of mine and I were like, while the Super Bowl was going,
Yep.
we were like weekend hacking in Poland on a business trip,
Nice. Yeah.
on a sofa, on this like, oh, because all of the data is open, we can build a Wayback Machine for the
Yeah.
social media platform because we have the data. We can't do that for
Hmm.
Instagram. There's no Wayback Machine on
Right.
Instagram. We can't build this Wayback Machine, but like, oh, now we have to run our own data infrastructure. And then yesterday we thought, oh yeah, like there's one API company in the space charging us a couple hundred of bucks to not even stream it into our database, but
Hmm.
literally just provide us files, so we have to import it every time they send a file. And you're like, no, 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 we can do that. Uh,
Yeah.
we're just that pipe where
Yes.
they build a full-on API on top of it and it's like, oh,
Hmm.
there's huge developer experience. You're like, no, you just want to write database
Just
queries because
direct.
that's what you know. Just keep
Hmm.
doing what you're doing, but here's the data you actually need. And now you build this cool thing
Yep.
because we're boring and we just give you the data
Yes.
instead of
Yes.
having this fancy, nice API that you now have to integrate with.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
No,
We try to meet our users where they're at so that they can meet their users. Yeah.
what are you most excited about their users, like your users?
Um, I don't know what it's gonna look like yet, but I feel like we're circling on something that'll actually get some true traction with non-crypto people. Like we've been teasing it out with like Reddit had all those profiles that were NFTs. Nobody
Yep,
really knew it, right? I think Starbucks does their points on Polygon.
not anymore, but yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
yeah. And then you have rumblings of like Amex working with Start or I can't even think of the name of the chain right now. Anyways, they're working with another blockchain, Stellar. There we go. So you're like hearing these rumblings of it getting used out in the real world, and I think we're like maybe one or two unlocks from like actual humans interacting directly with the blockchain without realizing it.
So what is the benefit of then using it if I don't even realize I'm using it?
It's all the same benefits in my opinion. So you're still being able to get that agency. You're still being able to get all the benefits of the open data, and it's a self-fulfilling cycle for me at least, with the open data leading to innovation, to better products, to more usage, and you kind of get this
So
flywheel effect.
So because I have the open data, I can build an experience that's only possible because of that open data. That
Yes.
means though I need to build more open data so that we can build more cool shit, and that's way
Uh
we
huh.
get more open data because it's more fun. People expect more open data. Kind of
Yes.
like how every single SaaS business now has to have their own API because we all
Yes.
expect with automation companies like the
Yep.
Zapiers and the N8Ns of the world that you just drag and drop different kind of Legos together, and now
Mm-hmm.
I have this automation that I write an email here and this gets booked in my
Yep.
CRM. Or somebody does a contact form on my webpage. I send them an email, I send a
Yep.
call, I book it in the CRM. I also post on social
Mm-hmm.
media and try to find them. I do this research thing. I now have AI, so I can even like not only get a notification and book it in the
Mm-hmm.
CRM, I can actually now write a text, formulate something
Yes.
on them. And you're saying like, oh, this is now happening in a way with financial data on blockchain,
Yep.
maybe social data with
Yep.
decentralized social. Now that's my funny little alarm. It's interesting. I have this alarm. It's a little side story
Yeah.
for when I want to go to sleep, and I just rack it every single day.
Oh shoot.
It's my
Yeah.
I still keep it because I thought of going back to waking up at 5 a.m. every single
Yeah.
day, but working with mostly US people and being in Europe, you have a 6 to 9 hour time shift, which
Uh
then
huh.
moves you into the evening. So you're in their
It's
late afternoons.
it kills me the other way. Like I can't wake up in the morning, so I'm usually working till like 2 or 3 at night, and so I'll usually catch the morning for Europe, and then wake up to
Oh,
just a deluge of messages. Like everybody replied while I was sleeping. I'm like, yeah,
oh, so, yeah, because I feel like we've interacted in my mornings.
yes, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
me
that
still
makes
being
sense.
up, and then I go to sleep, and then yeah,
Well, okay, here's my pitch for you to come to Europe. You
yeah,
can take your car, literally change country and culture in 2 hours,
yeah.
so you can
I
pick a
know.
new space to live. You can then also drive on German highways, which means you can just park your
Yeah,
car somewhere, take a
yes,
car that can go 200 miles an hour or like
yep,
300,
yeah,
400
yeah,
kilometers an
yeah,
hour. Just just make sure you're not in like the main traffic areas
yep,
in like rush hour, and then you just literally you're legally allowed to go that fast, and
yeah.
the car is built to go that fast. Also, while you go to sleep late, you're actually now working Eastern
It's perfect. I know.
normal regular time zones.
Yes, yes.
The one downside you will face there is if you're in a more rural area, everything closes
Yeah,
in European work after European
yeah,
work
yeah,
hours.
yeah,
So the restaurants most of the time aren't open anymore after 10. Like if you
yep,
find anything open after 10, you're in a city that has this
yep,
like store or
yep.
something that's still open. Most restaurants 12 is
Mm-hmm.
the dead end.
Yep.
Like here in Zurich, because it's this like conservative, rich city. And Zurich is more liberal than the rest of Switzerland, but compared to the rest of
Yeah.
Europe, well, no. Like we go to work the next day, it's like 10 p.m. Everything is closed. So while
Yep.
we're
Yep.
sitting here in this like office space, and we try to go to like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. because we're still out, we're
Yeah.
working with
Yeah.
U.S. clients. It's like, well, oh shit, like right now
Yeah.
it's 9 p.m. right now. It's like, oh shit, I need to run to get like some
Mm-hmm.
food still before
Mm-hmm.
everything closes because I know I'm gonna be here for the next like 3 4 hours. That's
Yep. Yep.
that's usually how it goes. And then oh, there's no public transport. Yeah. So
Yep. Yep.
that's the
Yeah.
anti
Yeah.
pitch
Yeah.
of going to Europe, and then before that wasn't a pitch for you to come to Europe.
Uh, no. What was it my favorite time zone that I've worked in recently? After DEF CON, I kept going south. So I took the family, went down
Oh,
to Bali for a few weeks.
yep,
It ended up being great because I stay up, and now I'm up all the way through Europe's day and most of the US. And so then when I go to sleep, it's like the US morning. So I just missed that, which is okay.
yep.
Yeah.
Uh, we just brought somebody on that's working from Bali,
Yeah.
and I was surprised by how fine it is, like
Yeah.
time wise. Well,
Yep.
usually if I go to sleep at 2, that's when they wake up. So
Mm-hmm.
then, and if I then I kind of miss their morning. But if I were to just wake up normally, it's
Yeah.
really cool. It's actually not
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah.
That's why I love being in Europe, time zone wise, because
Yep.
I can make it work with
Yeah.
everyone in the world.
Yes.
While every time I'm in the US, even a Europe meeting is now juggling it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you're usually European afternoons then. But
Yeah.
if you have big corporate people, they're like, oh no, I'm out at 5 p.m. So you have to go 4, which means if you're in Los Angeles, that's 5 a.m. your morning,
Mm-hmm.
um, which
Mm-hmm.
I'll then do. Uh, East Coast, that's 8, cool.
It's a little bit
Uh,
better. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe it's 9, so you're
Yep.
cool. Uh, if you're in Europe, oh, that's 4 for me.
Yeah.
If you're in
I know. I'm
Asia,
supposed to
that's
do.
late at night.
I'm supposed to do some doing like a Twitter Spaces thing tomorrow, but it's 7 a.m. my time because everyone else is in like Europe time zones.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, oh god, yeah,
I found European evening the best time to engage and
yep,
have those Twitter spaces and all of it because
yep,
Indians are up late, so you
yeah,
can
yep,
still chat and bring on your Indian friends
yep, yep, yep,
while
yep,
you're in the like 7
yeah,
p.m.
yep, yep,
European time, which then is noon in LA,
yes,
early afternoon in New York.
yep,
Uh, Perfect prime time for Europe, late at night, like somewhat
yep,
late
yep,
of like the around midnight for India, and then well Indonesia,
yep,
Bali, they're at 2 p.m. 2 a.m. So they're kind of screwed, which is
yep, yep.
also funnily what the early Champions League games are. But
There you
still
go.
internationally, it's celebrated and watched, but it's spreading a little bit more, but it's not
Okay.
too big. I feel
Yep,
like
yep,
at
yep.
least in the U.S. Like you're football guys, but your own
Yeah,
football.
I got you. I got you.
No, if going back to all of the fun, you said like open data and open everything. What's like?
Yep.
Do you have any historical records or things you go of that you're like, this happened in the past with open data, and it's really really cool.
Mm. Um. Oh man. I mean, there's stuff all the time. So, for instance, like on Farcaster, we were just talking about there was that guy out of China that burned 500 ETH to print a message on chain. That'll be there forever. So there's these like imprints that
Yeah.
you're able to do, and like the Wayback Machine that you're talking about, like being able to take a snapshot of your social profile through time. Um, Even just like the real estate thing, like I could go back and find all the work that we did 6 7 years ago because it's still there. The data's still available. We could still build the same tool again. And kind of to your point, like zombie companies, you could restart them. The data's open. Yeah. And so even if the company goes away, whatever it is, that data's still out there. It's still available.
You know what's even more interesting? Not only the data is there, your whole program is going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
As long as like you can reverse engineer some of the plumbing, but the
Yep.
initial pipes are still there. Ancient Rome's
Yes.
pipes aren't there.
Yep.
Uh, we'll see how ancient Rome, the
Yeah.
backwards compatibility of that tech goes. We're now 10 years
Yes.
in, which
That's
10
fair.
years for technology is cool, but it's not perfect.
No. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a so getting back to like the company, we try to be very agnostic in our approach to the data because we assume it's only going to change. So we just like
Yeah.
keep letting it change, embrace that.
Yeah, you also said like the way you handle data is different than most other API providers because
Yep.
they're providing an API. You're literally
Yes.
providing a stream of data,
Mm-hmm.
which if for those unaficionated, like not so technical, a stream of data is just like a waterfall. It's just rushing
Yeah.
through, coming down, and then what Brock and his team is doing is they just make sure that there's always the fresh water coming down. And if you say like, oh, I want the water because the data is open from a year ago, we'll just
Mm-hmm.
replay the water from
Yes.
a year ago until we hit the
Mm-hmm.
current water. We just speed it up, and then you have
Yep.
everything, or we just give you 5 waterfalls to
Yep.
fill you up quickly. And if you're building an API, it's more like, oh no, I just take my bucket, I dump it in the water once, and then I care about
Mm-hmm.
what's in this bucket. Um, Instead of just taking the ocean, the sea that just
Yep.
was
Yep. Yep.
filled
Yep.
from the waterfall, and I'm just like, oh, what's in the sea there at the like coordinates I care about,
Yep.
and that's the difference. And
Well, yeah, and like the bucket approach never scales. We keep doing it, but it never scales. It's like at some point you are just trying to put so many buckets in the water that you're creating your own waterfall from it. Yeah.
this is you can read papers about this with Twitter
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
their fire hose. They call it fire hose,
Yes.
which literally
Yes.
is opening a stream of water as a fireman.
Yes. Yeah.
Bluesky is also building this with their
Yep.
fire hose
Yep.
in the way that they build AT Proto, like their
Yep. Yep.
decentralized data
That
protocol.
federated. Yep. Yep.
Yep. Farcaster is way more stream based because it's literally 0 degrees, just messages
Yep.
layered on top, streamed on
Mm-hmm.
top. And then the difference at one point, you just don't care about the old data anymore, so we
Yep.
just throw it away. And then
Yep.
people like you who just indexed all of it from the day it began, we're like, oh, we no, we don't do
Yeah.
deletions
Yeah.
here, sir.
Yep. Yep.
But the network itself does deletions because it's a lake with, well,
Mm-hmm.
just not infinite capacity. So we have a stream coming in. It's like new users posting and engaging. We let it run through the lake, and at one point there's a river going out of the lake, which the old data or whatever is deleted or pruned. And you're just like, no, we actually just have so much space that we could
Well,
take all of the water.
yeah. I mean, this is the problem with open data, I suppose, is you end up with a lot of it. So typically people only want just a tiny subset of it. And so trying to get those like sub streams, if you will, or whatever you want to call them. Like I want a little pond on my property.
Want to call them subgraphs by any chance? Okay, I'm poking the bear here. I'm poking the bear.
I know I was trying to avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. The Eagles on the parade. Jalen was
Yeah.
running around with a shirt saying "Love Hurts." Um,
Oh, that's good. That's good.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I actually like. I had this inkling 2, 3 I think yeah, it was a month ago, where I posted, well, is GraphQL, meaning like this system where you actually just
Mhm.
expose all of the data and you just say what I want, you say the coordinates instead of
Yep.
building the bucket approach. Is that the best way to do it? And then people were telling me like, oh shit, like if you want to build your startup around that, one, people are going to expect to be able to just pull the buckets they care about because that's the only
Hmm.
thing they care about, and even that system doesn't fully scale. So you'll like it's going to be way too complex for you to build a startup potentially is what they said, and
Yep.
then if you hit scale, then you hit way more problems because of all the permutations of coordinates that you have to support versus if
Hmm.
you're doing buckets, it's only the set amount of buckets that you supported that may change.
Yep. Yep.
And you've built a system that apparently just doesn't care about all of that.
Because we just reverse it. We just skip all the middlemen. We assume that companies are going to want to scale at some point very early on in their life cycle, and so we just go direct.
You go direct to them to scale, or
Yeah, exactly. So like it's they get a fire hose from day one, but they can change that stream however they want. They can make the water flavor, do whatever they want. They get it exactly as they need, and it can be as wide or as narrow as they want as well. They can change it on the fly.
is there any advice you give to companies who you're like, oh, here's how you should integrate this so you don't fall into the infinite coordinates or infinite buckets or like just buckets don't work for me anymore situation?
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah, this is like the education aspect of like the marketing for the company, if you will. It's all kind of mixed in. Where yeah, if you build your company and your product on APIs, that's quick to get started. But 100% of the time, as soon as you reach any sort of traction, you're going to want to add a new feature. You're going to want to change the data in some way. Something's going to no longer work. And so then you're stuck building all this in-house tooling.
You should wait until Germany gets on chain because we are your perfect customers for that
Yes, yes,
explanation. Going back to the fundament and like foundation
yes.
foundation of a house analogy that we had earlier,
Yep, yep.
but the US is like, no, I just want this API in
Hmm.
here because it works today and I don't have to
Yes.
do configuration.
I
So
don't want to think about
maybe
tomorrow.
maybe one thing there to think about is, how close can you get to mirroring that by some
Mm,
kind of default setup that you have at like Indux and Co, so that you're like, oh no, it's the same integration effort, but we will scale, they
hmm.
will not.
So I'll try not to get too technical, but the way we fundamentally work is we don't have an intermediary database. So there's not a pond to put a bucket into, right? It's just the
Yeah.
stream. Um, we do this though through distributed compute. So we'll have hundreds of servers running and parallel process all of this. So we can have as many streams as we want. We have proof of concepts internally already where we can effectively run a stream fast enough that we can do it over an API. So somebody can request the data, we backfill it during the API request, and then send the data back.
So you're rebuilding GraphQL, but in actually good.
It's something, yeah, yeah,
No, because
yeah,
that sounds like GraphQL. The idea of
yeah,
GraphQL is like, oh,
yeah.
you just have all of the data, and
Mm-hmm.
then you just tell me the coordinates, and I'll
Yeah,
be fast enough to give you exactly that. And you're like, well, that
yeah,
we just talked about why that still doesn't scale because we'll have infinite coordinates. And you're like, no,
yep,
I'll just give you infinite streams, and because out of the streams I can recreate any coordinate.
exactly.
Um, you're
Yes,
just saying like, oh, I'll just go one step back and do that fast enough.
yep,
Oh, that's cool. And
yeah.
you
And
know,
so,
got me excited about like just playing around one with the Wayback Machine. You got me excited about that
yeah,
yesterday. You now have me excited about like reading a technical paper on like how you built it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a
We
lot to unpack there.
There's so much there, but the longer term vision is you parallelize this far enough, we can leverage everybody's idle compute, i.e., you load Facebook on your phone. You don't ask
Okay,
Facebook for data. You ask your peers.
okay. So it's like, well, open data, probably not
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, but
Yeah.
Firebook. No, sorry, like Farcaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Or like for financials, it's
Yeah.
like you open your trading app
Uh
and you
huh.
actually load the data directly instead of having to
Yes.
go through one or two APIs to the exchange.
Yep.
which kills a lot of businesses, by the way. There's
Mm-hmm.
so much money made in
Mm-hmm.
between the data being presented in the
Mm-hmm.
end terminal.
Mm-hmm.
Bloomberg is the biggest one for aggregating data and showing that to you in their
Mm-hmm.
terminal. The exchanges make a lot of money on selling those data flows.
Yep.
Uh, then other companies sit in the middle to build these high performance APIs so that Bloomberg doesn't have to, for example, or others, and they're like,
Yep.
oh, we're 10 nanoseconds faster, which is
Mm-hmm.
for some people billions of dollars.
Yep. Yep.
And you're just saying like, well, fuck all of that, just get it
Go
straight
direct.
into the terminal.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's exactly right. Like when the data's open, you can use it directly. We don't need the middleman anymore.
Uh, that's a really cool data use case. And I just feel like the web and app development is now moving into what has been coined by a paper a few years ago, local first.
Yes. Yes.
The quick TLDR gist of it is there's a few points in there, some of that will
Yep.
sound familiar to the crypto and cypherpunk people, but the gist that we care about now with like data and open data and the user experience and that speed is you just have the data on your device and you're able to do as much as possible on that device,
Mm-hmm.
and you treat that device as first
Yep.
class. The why you would want to
Yes.
do that is because you have zero latency to your own device. So if
Mm-hmm.
I could just get you the little tiny bit of most relevant data to you and just then keep changing that in the background that you don't
Mm-hmm.
really see, then you will always have no loading screen anymore because the
Mm-hmm.
data is on your device. You will
Mm-hmm.
literally always see the newest data if that like what do you say like streams
Yes.
and all of that is
Mm-hmm.
the hard
Mm-hmm.
technical part is solved once, and that end user experience is just like, well, you move around this like you move around the real world. It's just literally there. Touch the
Well,
cap of the camera, touch the mouse. Oh, it's there.
yes.
Clicking.
Yes.
This click
Yes.
is instant.
Yes.
The click on
Well,
my computer is 100 is like 1,000 nanoseconds, something like that,
yeah. Yeah.
100
Yeah.
millis. But then if like the data is in this mouse, like my Counter Strike game were to run in this
Yeah.
mouse, then it
Yes.
would be instant. Assuming that then the mouse communication through the computer
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the but
It will
uh,
feel instant. Is the point?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I will think it's instant, and then it will just reconcile, which is the gaming term for that, to make sure that if I actually hit it, then the
Yes.
player will die, and there's problems in some of that, and then you just solve it. I
Okay.
love that.
Okay. Now take all of this and go back to the premise of UX, right? End user
Yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Imagine if every end user can have their individual experience.
yep. Dude, one thing I did in September last year, I had a talk in Hamburg at a like
Yeah.
corporate developers conference
Yeah.
where they wanted me to talk about this open data and all that, and they
Yeah.
were super blown away by me going and taking that open data and saying, I'll build hyper personalized e-commerce for you.
Yes.
Because I know your financials and I know your
Mm-hmm.
social, Farcaster
Mm-hmm.
and the blockchain. So I know how much money you have and I know what your active preferences are because either you post or you like shit or you follow
Yep.
people in that
Yep.
order. You post, highest signal,
Yep.
and
Yep.
who you comment on,
Yep.
highest signal. What you react to, like repost,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yep.
second highest. Who you follow is then the lowest level if I don't have any of the above. And out of
Yep.
that, plus your wealth that's publicly displayed, which
Mm-hmm.
I think that will go away. There will be a little more private. You have to do a little more digging, and then there's going to be companies providing that data, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and you can now take that and build this e-commerce like that was hyper personalized. We did
Yeah.
that, and you're saying like you can even do this in the presentation on device. I mean, like what has made TikTok a
Yes.
billion-dollar company, you could do that with open data, quote unquote,
Yes.
for free.
Yes. I mean, you could take this so far. Okay, picking on social, you could imagine on your device, maybe you want to chat with an LLM. On my device, I want to see images, and like you can like truly transform the experience, but it's the same data underneath.
Oh, so like my preferred interface is the LLM.
Yeah.
Your preferred interface is images.
Scrolling. Yeah. Yep. But
Oh
it's
damn.
all but it's all open data.
No, that's right. Have you seen? There's from Expo. Expo is like building
Yeah.
mobile
Yeah.
apps and mobile app company. One of their great people, Evan Bacon, has built a template and like an app where
Yeah.
you just chat with it, and
Yeah.
it like depending on what you ask, it gives you the user interface back with AI
Yeah.
because it renders it on the server. So it kind of like takes the data, and you ask it about the weather, it gives you a weather app
Yes.
in the app as like a little widget back,
Yes. Yes.
kind
Yes.
of like
Yes.
how your home screen looks. If you ask it about flights, it gives you a flights back, and
Mm-hmm.
because it is trained on enough, like their AI on the back is trained on enough data, and they have built some data blocks, it can
Mm-hmm.
combine that and show you the flight data in a flight widget, the weather in a weather
Yep.
widget, and
Yep.
combine all that. You would say like, oh, you can go one step further. Why do you define me as a chat interface if I wanted to voice and see
Mm-hmm.
images or just scroll images? Just give
Mm-hmm.
me all of the visualization the way I want it, because you have the same data set.
Yep.
You can do the intelligence on device because you know the data, you know my
Mm-hmm.
preferences, you can learn that. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually build that experience.
Yep.
Fire. That's fire. That's
Yes.
fire.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
It's
dude,
exciting.
we can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
That's great. One
Yeah.
final rapid fire. What's the
Yeah.
biggest opportunity you see in Web3?
Uh, it's good UX. You got onboard new users, new money.
What's your favorite resource in Web3?
Favorite resource? God, I don't know. I just go to the data. It's
When you onboard new people, what do you send them?
I usually send them a Warpcast invite, and then I'll send them like a ledger, like literally like the little USB
Oh yeah, yeah,
private key. Yeah,
the
yeah,
hardware
yep,
wallet. Yep,
yep, yep.
yep, yep. Their microcode isn't open source, by the way, so you
I
don't know
know,
what's running on
I
there.
know,
There's a
I
Swiss
know.
company called Bitbox that they do open microcode. They use Rabi
Okay,
as a wallet to have like a nice
nice.
user experience, so
Yeah,
they
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
to build it. Open data, by the way, because they're
Mm,
interoperable, and
nice,
so they don't have to build the UI. They can just build the good hardware and just have it fully
nice.
open, be trustless.
Love
Uh,
it.
Little side
Yep.
thing.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
friend
yeah.
of mine introduced me to that in
Yeah.
November, and now I have 3 of them. Don't ask me about the bill. Don't. The ledgers already cost a lot, and then I
Yes,
have to
yes.
buy new things just because I don't trust the
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
open data, open problems. Um, what are you most excited about building?
It's it's that vision. It's the idea that I can help other people build whatever they want. It's like remove me from the equation and people are able to just
Yeah.
keep building. Yeah.
If you had to tell somebody what not to do, what comes to mind?
Um yeah, don't trust APIs. Uh don't over optimize for gas if you're building smart contracts. Like some logging is good. It'll help you on the other side.
Yeah.
Yep.
One far field question: what's
Yeah.
life?
It's I don't know, a pursuit of new experiences, new perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
checks out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Thank you. This was
Where,
fun.
where can people find you? What's the best way to reach out?
Uh, I'm on Farcaster, Telegram, Twitter, same handle, RUNNINYETI, Running Yeti, everywhere.
Nice. You're literally
Yep.
a running Yeti in the
Yeah, yeah.
car, going around. Good. So hyped.
Yeah.
Looking forward to see you next week in Denver. Thank you so
Heck
much
yeah.
for coming
It'll
on.
be fun. See you,
Awesome.
man.
Thank you for listening, and thanks for the guests for coming on to Techsuite for the C-Suite. In the description below, or the show notes, whatever you want to call them, you will find the awesome resources our guests mentioned to get you started. You can find links to our guests, and you all can also find a summary, takeaways, and other links to keep connected with the show. Thank you so much for listening. Have an awesome day.